What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the effortlessly effervescent Dr. Disaster, and I have an eclectic taste when it comes to video games. I enjoy everything from side-scrollers to first-person shooters to survival horror and sandbox RPG. I like a lot of different things, but one genre that I love a bit more than most others is the classic JRPG.
You complete me. I love you.
For example, I've been playing the Final Fantasy games for literal decades now. There is a particular style, a particular feel to those games, and when I'm in the mood for a game like that, only a Final Fantasy title will serve to scratch that itch. And, more broadly speaking, the distinctiveness of a culturally Japanese game is what I'm looking for when I sit down to play a culturally Japanese title. Anything else is just a cheap facsimile, in the same way, for example, that Chris Farley will never quite be Patrick Swayze. Don't get me wrong, in this clip, the cheap copy, Chris Farley, is freaking hilarious, but I think you get my point. Things are what they are, and tampering with them, trying to be something else, is typically a recipe for failure, which brings me to Square Enix. For some reason, despite the incredible pedigree of this company and the mind-boggling success and influence of their games throughout the decades, this is a company that has lost confidence in itself and in its culture. This is a corporation which has become wrapped up in corporate shit. They've lost their soul and are now practically ashamed of the games that made them into what they are today, running away like a bunch of pansies. The director of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has just come right out and said that they now make games for a global audience, which is just another way of saying the popular corporate buzzword, modern audience. The dude has come right out and admitted that they no longer make these games for the audience who actually love this style of game. They are attempting to placate everyone. And of course, when you change something and try to make it for everyone, it doesn't end up meaning anywhere near as much to the audience who once loved that thing. This director, and by extension Square Enix, are ashamed of their own culture because somebody somewhere might not like it. This weird obsession with trying to get everyone to love a product will ultimately kill genres like the JRPGs from Square Enix, whose newer IPs, like Forspoken as an example, have generally landed with a thud.
Love me.
No.
Love me.
No, man.
Love me!
Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
Alright me hearties, make sure that you smash the like button on this video to drive away the evil algorithm monster, share the video with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. But anyhow, let's have a peek at what this director of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth said, because it tells us why the games that we see out of Square Enix these days have just failed to resonate with people the same way that their games of old once did. Final Fantasy VII, as an example, has stood the test of time and become this iconic IP that they have been able to successfully repackage for a reason, because it was unapologetically itself. Anything less than that is an inauthentic experience, and we can sense it. There's something about Final Fantasy 15, for example, that is just soulless and flavorless. It didn't resonate with me at all, which is why I haven't played 16 yet. I've heard that one is actually pretty good, but it's been hard for me to get too interested in trying it out because Square Enix has lost a lot of my trust. I still go back and play a lot of their old games. At the moment, for example, I'm in the middle of a Final Fantasy X replay. I'm getting closer to acquiring the Platinum Trophy for it, but I can't imagine ever wanting to replay 15 and getting the Platinum for that. That game was just bland. Anyhow, words from an interview with the director of Rebirth have been circulating social media as they unintentionally explain Square Enix's problems these days. I first saw the pieces from the interview in this ex-post from Learning the Law, who wrote, "The director of Final Fantasy Rebirth spoke the truth a few days ago. They now make games for a global audience, guided by ethical reviews, instead of prioritizing Japan and creative freedom. The term JRPG will soon disappear, and Japanese games will be anything but Japanese." And then, if we look at the actual interview, you can see what he means. The director was asked, "What factors do you consider when designing a game for a wide global audience?" And he replied, "There are so many elements that go into game development, from the story to every little detail in the game's presentation. We conduct thorough ethical reviews tailored to different regions, taking the time and resources to ensure our work doesn't become a source of negativity for anyone is essential in today's world." Alright, there's a lot to break down with that. First of all, to make art is to make something that risks being offensive. Period. Art by committee is what creates something like Forspoken, a lifeless experience that gamers didn't give a rat's ass about because it wasn't a JRPG anymore. It was a cheap clone. The thing that makes art into something great is the exclusivity of it. Some people just won't like it. Some people just won't want to have anything to do with it. Sure, it's impressive when a genuine piece of art has a broad audience, but you can't just manufacture that. You have to create something that you yourself like from scratch and simply cross your fingers that others like it too. As an example, The Lord of the Rings is, of course, a beloved story which is unapologetically itself. It has a real British feel to it. It embraced British culture. Millions of people have read the books and watched the movies, and they are wildly successful. But it isn't universally loved. My dad despised stories like The Lord of the Rings. The only way for Tolkien to make The Lord of the Rings appealing to him would have been to throw in a bunch of cowboys. Gandalf would need to be replaced with John Wayne. But should Tolkien have done that to appeal to people like my dad? Of course not. He would have lost the audience who wanted The Lord of the Rings to be what it is. But the director of Rebirth continued with his answer, saying, "Back when the original Final Fantasy VII was released, it was primarily created for the Japanese market, and its global reach expanded as it gained recognition. But today, rather than first prioritizing the Japanese market and letting the game's reach grow organically, we now create with a global audience in mind from the very start. In that sense, we are in a completely different era. And this is why video games are in such dire straits now, at least the AAA video games, because rather than just make something fun, these people at AAA game studios are now trying to placate everyone. They are trying to pander to the perpetually offended, and AAA developers in both Japan and the West have largely lost faith in their own cultures. But gamers have not lost faith. by and large, we still have faith in our own culture. We like our cultures, and we are often these days rejecting games which reject us. What's funny though is that what this guy said is something that we have complained about for literal years now in the gaming space. The fact that developers do this, that they don't create genuine art, but instead create through corporate committee, sanitizing everything they do. We have been claiming this for years, and the progressive shitlibs who love this approach have told us that we're conspiracy theorists for even bringing it up. But of course, these days, conspiracy theories are simply factual news headlines that haven't been printed yet, because clearly we knew what we were talking about, and companies like Square Enix will continue to struggle until they pull their heads out of their asses and stop acting like a soulless Western corporation. But I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your contempt for this flavorless way to create entertainment into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.